Christmas is finally almost here, and that means that it can be an extremely busy time to be a knitter. With so many gifts to buy and so many patterns to choose from, it can feel extremely overwhelming, which is why I've compiled this list of 10 free patterns, which could be good for gift knitting or making a little something special for yourself. I hope that this list helps you kickstart your festive knitting, or gives you just a little bit of inspiration to make something extremely special for someone you love. All of these patterns are of course linked down below if you're interested in making them, and don't forget to drop me a message over on my Instagram if you decide to go for one of them. I would love to see your finished objects. Alright, now let's get into the patterns. Pattern number 1 is called Santa Baby, and it's by the designer Hanne Rimmen. Now some of you may know, if you already watch my videos, that I really admire this talented Scandinavian designer. She makes the most beautiful colourwork pieces, and this one is of course no exception. Santa Baby stood out to me as the quintessential Christmas jumper. With its gorgeous Christmas tree motif across the yoke, I think it would be quite a simple colourwork piece to get you started with working with 2 colours at once. Another beautiful thing about this sweater is it actually comes in 3 different versions. So there's one for women, which I've linked here, but there's also one for children and one for men. So it could be a wonderful option to dress the whole family up in something matching. I like how this jumper is Christmassy, but it's also quite subtle and classy. So I feel like it doesn't scream Christmas in a way that meant you couldn't wear it throughout the whole of December. Now the women's jumper has several rows of Christmas trees, but the kids' version has just 1 row, which is decorated with beautiful little baubles or sequins. It just invites so many fun ideas and ways to play with texture and colour. This sweater in the sample is knit up with 3 strands of yarn held together, but I personally would probably just go for 2, as long as it comes to a DK weight. The women's version of this sweater comes in sizes from S to 2XL. The second pattern that I want to introduce you to is the Haze sweater by the Knit Purl Girl. Now I follow the Knit Purl Girl over on Instagram, and she is such a talented and kind designer. She very generously offered this free pattern as a festive release for Christmas last year, and I think that it would make a wonderful Christmas jumper. Now of course the motif is not openly Christmassy. It doesn't feature snowflakes or Christmas trees, but I do think that depending on the colours you choose, it still has a very sort of Nordic, pared back and wintry vibe. I think that this would be a great option for somebody's first colourwork project, as it is knit up in an Aran weight, which means that you won't be spending forever with tiny fingering weight yarn. I also like the choice of knitting this in Letlopi, which is the recommended yarn, which is a very rustic Scandinavian wool. However, if you would find that a bit itchy, you could equally swap it out for something a bit softer and a little bit more gentle against the skin. As with all of the patterns made by the Knit Purl Girl, this comes in a fantastic range of sizes, for a 75 to 145 cm bust. Next up, we're staying with the colourwork, but we're moving away from sweaters to this beautiful shawl, which is called the Verk shawl by Sigrid Marie Blom. I was immediately grabbed by this shawl because I felt like the colourwork was extremely Christmassy and festive. It features snowflakes and trees, but it is still quite pared back because of the colours that they use. I think that if you made this in something like a brown, it could be even more neutral and you could wear it throughout the whole year. This would be a beautiful gift knit because shawls fit and look good on almost anyone. However, I would probably make this one for myself and wear it on Christmas Eve when I want to feel all warm and cosy. This piece is knit up in sport weight yarn, which means that you'll get lovely definition and precise colourwork that looks really seamless and meshes well together. This shawl requires 700 metres of yarn, so it could be a good option if you have a few oddballs left over in your stash. Something that I really appreciate about this design is that it doesn't only feature colourwork, but it also has sections of kind of garter stitch texture that add a lot of interest and a kind of luxurious feel to the final piece. It comes in one size, which is 145 by 48 centimetres. Now we're going on to the 4th pattern on my list, which is the Belle Fille hat by Espace Tricot. I absolutely adore this hat. I'd want to make one for myself in about 5 different colours, but I also think that there's no one on my Christmas gift list that wouldn't appreciate a version of this. It's such a timeless piece, and the pattern description said it was inspired by looking at the Christmas displays of elegant department stores, and isn't that just a beautiful story behind it? This hat kind of reminds me of something someone might have worn in The Holiday, which is one of my favourite Christmas films, and it really does just have a kind of cool, classic and very elegant look to it. I also like the fact that this hat is knit up in sport weight yarn, which means that you have a lot of luxury options at your disposal. I would personally probably make this in neutral colours, just like in the sample, and I would go for something really luxurious like a cashmere. I think that would be such a beautiful gift that would convince even the most sceptical of people on your list. This hat comes in one size, and honestly, I'm tempted to cast it on right now. Pattern number 5 sees us moving back to Nordic-inspired colourwork with the Gardenia mittens by Maja Karlsson. I selected these mittens because I really enjoyed the motif that's around the cuff. I think that it would be very simple and a good introduction to small circumference colourwork, but it would also look so beautiful in such a wide range of colours. You really could choose whatever colours you want to suit the person that you're giving this to. Mittens are a perfect Christmas gift because everybody loves something nice and cosy to keep their hands warm when they're walking around outside, maybe visiting a Christmas market. The Gardenia mittens are knit up in DK weight yarn, which is a great option for something quick and not too complicated for a last minute gift. They only require about 160 metres of yarn too, which makes them a really great stash buster. These come in 2 sizes, one for men and one for women. Since we've had a few colourwork patterns that play with different colours, I wanted to add some interesting texture into the mix, with this next piece, which is the Coziest Cowl by Purl Soho. Now I always say it, but it is still true, that no free pattern video would be complete without a few additions from Purl Soho. I really love this cowl because of its simplicity and the fact that it really lets the boucle yarn shine. This boucle yarn is a super bulky weight, which means this would be a really quick and easy piece to knit up. This piece is just knit up in a tube, so super great if you're not familiar with circular needles and maybe want to try them out, and just such an easy and effortless quick knit that almost anybody would love. I have recently experimented with boucle yarn myself, and I love the way that it feels against the skin. I think that it would make a beautiful and quite impressive gift because the way that boucle works is when you knit it up, it creates an almost seamless, kind of stitchless fabric, which would be really, really soft and cozy against your skin. As this only requires about 90 metres of yarn, it could be an excuse to splurge on something extra special. This piece comes in one size and would make the perfect stocking filler. Now with pattern number 7, we come to my second option from Purl Soho, which moves away from the kind of fluffy snuggliness of boucle with a very sleek and simple ribbon scarf. This scarf has an interesting construction which would lend itself to so many different textures and colours. I think it would look good in anyone's wardrobe depending on what yarn you choose to make it with. It would be very sleek to have one in black that would pair with so many things, but if somebody really loves a specific colour, it's a great excuse to get a little bit of yarn in that and make them something special. This quirky little accessory is knit up in such a way that makes it look a little bit like a Christmas ribbon on a present. The tapered points at the end look very sleek and put together, and I really enjoy the finish and attention to detail of this pattern, just like so many from Purl Soho. Although this piece is knit in fingering weight, I think it would work equally well in a slightly denser yarn as long as you don't mind a thicker finished scarf. This piece takes only 380 metres of yarn and is knit up in one size. At number 8, we have the very festive Yuletide cheer socks by Tracy Bakkelokken. This pattern is a lovely Christmassy option for all of you sock knitters out there who just have to have something you're working on throughout the holiday period. These socks are a Christmas classic with their sweet little colourwork details and very simple construction. These socks would make a great gift, but I would also fancy making some for myself and maybe wearing them with my boots so I get a pop of some festive red every time I'm walking around. I really like the colour that they've knit them up in, but I think that they would also look good in a rich forest green for something equally Christmassy. As with most socks, these are knit up in fingering weight yarn and they take about 400 metres. They come in 3 sizes, small, medium and large. Now that we've covered some lovely sweaters and some festive gift patterns, I also wanted to include 2 beautiful little decorations that could spruce up your tree. The first of my decorations is the Christmas Eve bauble by Renee Callahan. This is a classic Christmas decoration because of its bauble shape, but it would also give you the opportunity to experiment with very small circumference colourwork. These baubles are knit up on teensy tiny 2.75mm needles, so they would make an excellent challenge for an intermediate knitter. I love the idea of knitting decorations like these because I think they give you so many options to use up the scraps that you've accumulated throughout the year. I also think that a little knitted decoration makes such a cute and unusual gift to give someone. I personally always have a colour scheme for my Christmas things, so I would definitely try and match my new decorations to the scheme I wanted to go for this year. I always tweak my Christmas colour scheme a tiny bit every year, so knitting baubles like these would give me an excellent chance to mix and match colours with what I've already got. These baubles are knit up in fingering weight yarn and they only take about 30 metres of yarn, so really great for absolutely tiny bits of leftovers. Pattern number 10 is one that I just couldn't resist adding to my list because I think it is a must-have addition for any knitting fanatic. And these are the Tiny Sweaters by Miriam L. Felton. I've seen so many iterations of these tiny sweaters and they never stop making me smile. I selected this pattern because the Ravelry pictures of these sweaters just look so good. This pattern is another one that would be really great for using up your scraps and mixing and matching whatever colours and textures you already have. I also enjoy the fact that these sweaters are actually proper little jumpers, which means you could pop one on the top of a bottle of wine if you were giving someone that for a gift. Just like the baubles, these only take 30 metres of yarn, and there are so many different ways that you could customise them by adding little pom-poms or doing a bit of colour work or changing up the texture. They come in one size, and I definitely know I'll be making a couple this year. Alright, that rounds up my 10 free Christmas patterns. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you liked my pattern ideas, please do hit subscribe. I will also be releasing another gift knitting video in the next week or two, so stay tuned for that. And thank you so much for watching.